Since the start of the race in 1973, more than 350 sailors from New Zealand have taken part, including legends like Grant Dalton, Mike Sanderson, Stuart Bannatyne and Brad Jackson. But there is one Kiwi who is synonymous with the race, Sir Peter Blake. Blake is the only skipper to have ever won all legs back-to-back during the 1989-90 Whitbred Round the World race, a record that still stands today. He became a national hero.
Sir Peter Blake, what a bloody legend. In my 20s, we were listening to the daily updates of the Whitbred, you know, the rivalry between Sir Peter Blake and Grant Dalton. They were just amazing days, and it was the days before any real television footage. We just had to listen to the daily updates on the radio. It was like listening to the cricket, but he truly was an inspirational New Zealander, and the legend around him is unbelievable. So when I saw an advert on Facebook to join Steinlager 2, you know, really the boat's synonymous with Peter Blake's name, and sail from Auckland to Tauranga, I just had to jump on that chance. And what could possibly make it better than doing it with my son? One of the most amazing things about Steinlager was, you know, hearing about the big Southern Ocean crossings, which are absolutely legendary, but unfortunately, or perhaps fortunately, it didn't look like we were going to get any of that kind of weather. There's actually no wind when we left, absolutely none. The whole thing was flat. I thought, oh my god, we just paid all this money to sit on Steinlager 2, the motorboat. It's great to be on Steinlager 2. You have to be sailing it. You can't just sit on Steinlager 2 in the sunshine, can you? Crikey, you can just sit on a beach and get sunburned in the sun. You don't need to do it on a boat. So just to contrast Steinlager 2 with the Green Pearl, my own boat, Steinlager 2 weighs 35 tonnes and the Pearl weighs 6 tonnes. The Pearl is 34 feet long and Steinlager is 70 feet long. We're getting out to Rangitoto now and there's still no wind, which is not uncommon on that side of the island, but nonetheless we got to the grinders, lifted the mainsail, and I have to say, after years of watching people grind on those things, it was the first time I'd ever tried it myself, and all I can say is that is a lot of sail to get up in the air. Hey, Steinlager, New Zealand. Woo! Where are we going? We are going to the barrier, but there is not much wind. Really, it's just the motor pushing us. I better give you a quick idea of where we're at. You can see here New Zealand sailing in the Hauraki Gulf, and right now we're heading towards the Coromandel. Some wind came up when we were halfway out, maybe 10 knots worth of breeze, but wow, boy can that boat make a lot out of 10 knots worth of breeze. While the wind was really light, we had a crack at the Jenica. It didn't really work out just because of the wind angle and the breeze, but wow, what an effort to put that away again. It really makes you appreciate those actual sailors in the Southern Ocean constantly changing sails backwards and forwards. The actual manpower, the effort, the sweat and the time it takes to change those sails. Incredible. We're approaching Cape Colville here, and on such a small amount of breeze, the boat's doing 10 knots. This boat is absolutely incredible. And the Colville Channel was noted for having pretty savage wind against tide conditions, but for us it was like dream time, just ghosting through such an iconic piece of water for Auckland yachties. As we exited the Colville Channel, the wind lightened off a little bit, and Tristram found it very amusing that I was trying to make a video, and you'll see his head poking him from time to time as he takes the piss. But anyway, actually we came to Shag Bay. I better chuck in a map here so you guys know whereabouts we are. As you saw before, set off from Westhaven, went out over the top of Rangitoto and over the top of the Coromandel through Colville Channel, and now we've just looped around there into Shag Bay. Shag Bay was the perfect place to spend the night, as in the total shelter of the prevailing wind, and absolutely lovely night, and so still the next morning. Funny story, I got up early to try and get a photo of the sunrise, but everyone had the same idea, so we were all crowding around each other trying to get that perfect shot.
I was thinking that. No one else bothered.
Well, I know other people.
After the swim, the crew fed us up with a good breakfast and off we went. It's not a lot of wind to kick off the day, but as it turned out, we were due for some serious excitement. We were so lucky, due to the flat conditions, we managed to spot a huge pod of dolphins. Is there anyone on the planet that isn't captivated by dolphins? Everyone I've ever seen has just been mesmerised by them. Anyway, it was a bit anticlimactic after the dolphins moved on. We didn't have much wind, but it did slowly pick up, and we ended up out to Great Mercury Island, another fabulous cruising destination. Most of the Mercury Islands have statutory protection and are managed by Department of Conservation. However, you can land on Great Mercury Island, and that's where we're headed here. Apparently 18,000 years ago, the sea level was 100 metres lower, and these were actually just hills on a giant floodplain. I had to take this video. Isn't it the most iconic New Zealand shot? Sheep walking in the foreground, Steinlager in the background. Anyway, on the way back to the boat, a few of the crew elected to swim back. Those of us that weren't feeling quite so energetic or confident in our swimming ability chose to take the dinghy and welcome the swimmers home as they came in, but I'm pretty sure it was a lot further than most people anticipated. Once we left Great Mercury Island, we got some breeze, we got up the sails, and it's just so impressive how well these boats move when they get some wind. Steinlager just bolts. There's one reoccurring theme in sailing, and that's if nothing's gone wrong, then just wait 5 minutes. Unfortunately, the main foil, which fills the genoa, came apart and the sail came loose. So the crew had a crack at trying to fix it on the water, but we were not able to do it, so we were forced to motor the rest of the way to the destination. One of the downsides of a big boat is it needs a big motor to push it, as you can hear from this. It's always confusing in sailing videos to figure out where people are, so here's a bit of an update. We left Shag Bay and went across to Great Mercury Island. That's where we had lunch, there in the bay, and then from there we had the problem with the foil and we motored the whole way down to Slipper Island. So there you go, there's a bit of an overview for where we're at, and this is actually Slipper Island when we arrived. It's a bit miserable and bleak. I'm sure it looks fantastic on a sunny day. And at this point we stopped and the crew had a crack at fixing the foil. At this point we hadn't made as much ground as I think the captain was hoping, and we were due in Tauranga the next day at midday. So what actually happened was we had dinner here, and then most of us went to bed, and the crew elected to motor through the night to get us down to Mare Island. This is waking up on Mare Island the next day. Curiously, Captain James Cook named it Mare Island because apparently it was Mare's Day in England the next day. But a far more interesting name is the actual original Maori name, Tuhua, which is named after the black obsidian glass is found in this area. I was pretty happy to keep sailing at 5 knots, but it turns out that this boat has such a deep draft that it won't get into Tauranga Harbour unless it's high tide. So back on with the diesel engine and let's get to Tauranga. Just to give you an idea about what it would have been like to sail this thing around the world, I'm just filming here what it takes to get in your bunk. So that's the main kitchen where they cook for everyone, but you can see here, this is not a luxury charter boat. You know, we're looking at pipe berths here. There's 3 on top of each other, and if you're looking for luxury accommodation, this isn't it. And can you imagine sailing through the Southern Ocean, being crammed in here, wet, with, you know, water pouring out of everything, just all the noise from the boat creaking. So I think you really underestimate, in my opinion, how hard it was to get these boats through the Southern Ocean, and the sheer volume of physical work. And even just the cooking in that tiny kitchen, I don't even know, he must have just been vomiting down those sinks all of the time. And that was the end of the trip, a very muted arrival in Tauranga, just making it just in time for the tides. And then the inevitable unpacking and leaving all my wet togs behind on the boat, which presumably they threw away. And actually the next crew was waiting to get on board to sail it back to Auckland, and apparently they got hammered. Peter Blake would have smiled.